So I'm coming up on my 1 year anniversary of being accepted into the Canadian Army Reserves, and I decided it would be a good time for me to kind of reflect on why I decided to join the Canadian Army and make such a big commitment to such a job slash service. So one thing you should know about the Canadian military, at least for the reserves, is that you don't have a contract to fulfill, unlike the full-time regular force members, or like the U.S. Military works. Like in the U.S. Army or military, like you have to serve like total 8 years, but it's broken down into like, either 4 years of active service, 4 years of inactive service, or 2 years of active service and 6 years of inactive service, etc. And in Canada, the only time you're on a contract is if you do if you're in the reg force, which is full time. You have to serve 3 years. And for me, I really didn't know if I would really enjoy the military at all. So which is why I told myself I would give myself at least 1, maybe 2 years of army experience, or at least living the life of being an army reservist, to kind of see if I would like it or not, just kind of test the waters and whatnot. And then I could decide if I wanted to continue forward. Secondly, being a big history guy and studying a lot of war history and everything, I learned to really admire and respect the stories of war and all the things that ultimately changed our course of history. That was a big factor from high school going into college and so forth, and doing my own studying of history. And thirdly, it was to really just challenge myself and push myself beyond my physical and mental limits that I never knew I could surpass until I actually, managed to push myself beyond what I expected during Canadian Army basic training. And now coming up on the 1 year anniversary, it's been quite amazing with what I've accomplished. However, the question of whether I'd be able to stay is up in the air right now. Especially given the whole circumstances, I really question whether I have the ability to continue forward. And what do I mean by this? I mean that as far as job situation goes right now, obviously it's not very good given the whole COVID situation. But my lifestyle as it is, and my career choice, especially since I am a working magician, kind of seasonal. I can't say it's full time. It's kind of part time at the moment because, I just started doing shows again. But at the same time, I joined the reserves believing that, I could still maximize my potential to do my magic career full time and have full commitment to it, and at the same time not sacrifice my not have to sacrifice anything, and I could still, at least on weekends or one night a week, put a bit of time into the military. That being said, when you go far enough into the Army Reserves, at least in Canada, there is a certain point where you have to draw the line as far as where you have to decide, is this career choice the right one for me, given my lifestyle and my passion for this or a different career that I'm doing or that I'm pursuing. So you really have to consider that if you're thinking about joining the army, and even the Canadian Army as a reservist, because there will be a point that if you're in the reservist, even as a reservist, when it comes to your trade course, you will have to commit full time, which unfortunately, even as a reservist, there's no part-time options for training. You have to commit full time. So that's kind of where I might have to draw the line as far as how far my career is able to go for the Canadian Army. That said, though, do I regret joining at all the army and stuff? No, absolutely not. I made that decision myself. I volunteered to join, and I voluntarily decided to put myself in a vulnerable situation where I would get pushed to my limits. And you know what? There were some tough moments throughout it, but in the end, I'm glad that I pushed through it. And the best part is you get paid to suffer, essentially. But in the end, it is a pretty rewarding feeling, coming home and seeing that money show up in your bank record, knowing that you worked your blood, sweat, and tears off for it. So it is not the best pay, unfortunately, and that is kind of the unfortunate thing about being in the military, unless you're like a really high ranked soldier in the army. So all I can say is I'm hoping that within the next year or so, I'm really gonna have to do some self-reflection on whether the Canadian Army is the right choice for me in a year or so. I'm not planning on quitting anytime soon. I don't think. Maybe I'll do a bit more part-time training in the next few months or year, who knows, depending on how this whole COVID situation goes. But do I regret joining the Canadian Army? Absolutely not. But do I think it's the right career choice for me? That's the question that I need to answer for myself for the next 6 months to a year. And maybe, just maybe, I'll have to pursue something else in order to help supplement my magic career. Because in the end, that's the number one thing that I'm passionate about and hoping to pursue in the long run. Who knows? Maybe I'm really thinking of getting into like armed security contracting. That's like local, not like overseas stuff or anything like that. That's a little too extreme, but I don't know. Those are my thoughts. If you have any thoughts, leave them down in the comments. But that's just my little story time for you guys. And thanks for watching, and hope to see you guys in my future videos. Peace out.